The following is a Spirit Street production. You've discovered your link to the Powercat Podcast, presented by Fridge Wholesale Liquor. It's the Powercat Podcast. And now, let's go to the Spirit Street Studios. Here's your host, Go Powercat publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to another edition of the Powercat Podcast. And it's a little bit different this week. We're throwing you a curveball. We're going to actually have an interview in the second half. We're going to do something different.
We just didn't want to do three halves.
We don't really have
I'm just kidding.
enough information, enough questions probably to do a full podcast. So we're going to throw in a Chris Klieman interview as I sat down with him. We all sat down with him, but we're sharing in the podcast my discussion with Coach Klieman with questions provided by Mr. Ryan Wallace, our recruiting analyst, editor, whiz, whatever you want to call him. Hey, we're sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor. I'm Tim Fitzgerald, Riley Gates, and Zach Carlson alongside here in the WTC Gig Powered Studios, and we're glad you're along with us as summer approaches. It's finals week, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's finals week on campus. It's kind of quiet around here, and soon.
Around here? You like Manhattan?
Yeah. Because
Okay.
I was driving to work, and there was just like no one.
I thought you meant the office. I'm like, we don't have any students here.
And then next week we get rid of them, and I'll be gone. But
Yeah, and we get rid of Fitz, too. It's great.
I know. I'll be gone for a couple weeks as my wife and I take a little break to celebrate our anniversary. I'll come back with an all-over body tan.
That sounds nice. I always think of the David Ortiz, it was on Vine back when he said, "This is our city. Ain't nobody going to come around and dictate our freedom." That's what I think about when the students leave town.
Hey, you know what's going to happen on Sunday night, don't you? The Game of Thrones will come to a conclusion.
How are you going to watch?
We're not going to watch it while it takes place because my wife and I will actually be on a flight from one island to another in Hawaii at that exact moment.
So you think you're going to be able to avoid any spoilers the whole time?
That's the problem. I've been really good about staying off Twitter. We don't watch it at 8. Usually we watch it after 9 or 10. So I have to stay off Twitter for a brief period of time. It's not easy for me. It's really not. But yeah, we'll be on a plane, and then we'll be checking into a hotel and get a rental car. So
hotel.
Probably one of the first things we do when we get into our room will be
Welcome to Hawaii. Watch Game of Thrones.
Oh, this will be after 4 days in Honolulu, then we switch over to the Big Island. If you're in town and you want to have a party for the conclusion of the Game of Thrones, drop by the Fridge. They have a selection of Game of Thrones wine that I did not. I guess now that I think about it, my wife has one, but I didn't think about them having it. If you're looking for the Johnny Walker White Walker, they're out. Oh. Unfortunately, they have no more of the special Scotch White Walker, which is kind of reminds me of Jason Walker, our former colleague.
He is a White Walker.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is, except he does tan quite well, that bastard. Here we go. Well, we've got some great questions. I assume people didn't mail it in this week.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, here we go. Zach Carlson.
Are you accusing our subscribers of mailing it in?
I'm accusing them of
Licking the stamp.
Of having other things to do as the weather warms up than send us questions.
That's fair.
Like go outside and listen to us and do yard work?
Yeah, do that.
Yeah.
I listen to Southern Rock or something, but if they want to listen to us, that's great. That's fantastic. I'm not sure if we're going to have a podcast next week. We'll talk about that. I won't be here. Maybe you guys will figure it out. Maybe I'll do one from Hawaii. Maybe you'll bring.
I don't think people would appreciate you doing that.
Okay.
Fitz, what do you think? I'm on a beach.
I know what you want to say.
Yep. Okay, let's move on with this week's podcast. Here are your questions from Wabash Station.
From Powercat Ryan, of the 2 grad transfer running backs that have signed, which one of you guys peg as the starter? How will they split snaps?
Gotta be Brown, right?
Gilbert's got a lead on him, doesn't he?
But you don't go at him if you're not gonna try to start him.
I think it's going to be a duel. I don't think there's.
Somebody has to start, though.
I think they're going to really battle it out, and some will emerge. I'm going to say Gilbert if you're going Brown. I just think his experience in the system is going to give him a little bit of lead, at least for the first game. We'll see if he can catch up. Maybe he can. Maybe, but this is a running back-driven offense, and it seemed a logical fit for him to transfer in from North Carolina.
I just, when I think about it, I feel like if you wanted to do an alternating carry type thing, you start Gilbert. You can give it to Trotter. You could give it to Burns. You can give it to any of the incoming freshmen and be the second option. And I feel like you would have been okay with it. Like not happy, but you could have been like, okay, well, we'll manage this year. But they didn't necessarily think strongly enough about maybe a Trotter or a Burns or anybody like that, and that's why they went out and got Brown. And so I guess that's where my line of thinking before it is that they needed somebody to be the main guy to make Gilbert the number 2.
My thought is Gilbert and Brown will be the 2 main guys. One of the freshmen will slide in there with some playing time, and so will Harry Trotter, and that'll kind of be their rotation.
Shoot, you could play all the freshmen, get them 4 games, and
just rotate them through.
Really.
Well, it was interesting in our discussions with Coach Klieman on Monday. He brought up the fact that running backs are ideal for special teams. So I think he's aware of some issues maybe on special teams in the depth there, and the freshmen just won't play running back, though. If they play him, they'll go ahead and put him on special teams. We'll see how he does it. But they did obviously feel like came out of spring that they needed more help at running back, and they didn't want to rely on too much from freshmen, so they went and got another experienced senior grad transfer. Very intriguing. 2 senior grad transfers, same position, which means they'll be up and gone after 1 year, and then there you go. The freshmen better be ready.
From Jay Bulland 08, first post ever. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the site.
Welcome to the site, yeah. I could be wrong, but I feel like a lot of people are overlooking Skylar Thompson for this upcoming year. Even in this run-oriented offense, do you think he has a chance to be close to an all Big 12 performer?
I mean, I think they're overlooking him because he hasn't done a whole lot, in terms of a full year. He's had some moments, he's had some games. But they haven't seen him in a 12-game situation where he's not looking over his shoulder and he's playing for a coaching staff that he clicks better with. So I'm half agreeing with him and half disagreeing with him because I think it's probably fair to be a little skeptical of Skylar Thompson coming into this year just because of all the uncertainty. But I'm very much in his camp at the same time that I think Skylar is going to thrive. Now, all Big 12, you got Jalen Hurts at Oklahoma. You've got Sam Ehlinger at Texas. I mean, I think there's probably quarterbacks that are going to end up having, probably better numbers and better success, and therefore they're going to take the all-conference spots. But I think Skylar's going to have a really good year.
Yeah, I don't want to put that pressure on him that I expect him to play at that level. But if he can stay healthy, I expect him to be pretty good. And I think he's just a kid that is going to flourish in this offense and flourish with knowing that he's securely the number 1 guy.
From ContraCat, what will it take to adapt these kids to new coaches and styles? Have they shifted noticeably in what players are doing?
I mean, it's time. You got to have time around them. You got to be comfortable with them, and I think that they got that really quick, almost like scary quick.
Yeah.
And I think that goes to speak to just how different the old staff was and how maybe they were lacking in certain things. Fritch's story today says a lot, caring about the player and not just treat him as a football player. They're people. I think they've adjusted in that department, and I think strength and conditioning and we've seen Wyatt Hubert become a man after, he's like a gladiator now. He was a man, now he's a gladiator. I think you're seeing these guys get bigger and stronger. That maybe I don't know what numbers they were at last year, but like last week they were all tweeting out their new lift numbers, and like Devin Ankle squatted like 600, wasn't it? Or was it 500?
I think it might have been 500, but it was like a new record for
for the punter. They're all getting into the 1,000-pound club, which is 3 lifts, combine them, 1,000 pounds. I mean, they're lifting a lot of weight right now, and they're getting little bit meatier dudes, I guess, once again, which is a positive sign.
Here's the thing is, for whatever you want to say about how the old program was run, Coach Snyder held those players to task, and there was a little bit of fear of Coach Snyder and Sean Snyder. Now, that's not always good, but as we head into the summer, and more of this will be self-directed, personal responsibility to take care of business, get to workouts, get your stuff done. I mean, granted, Chris Dawson, there's plenty there to fear as strength and conditioning coach. But now we're going to see if this buddy-buddy approach, that's maybe not quite what I want to say. This more happy-go-lucky, take care of your stuff. Everything's good. Let's go do stuff. Let's say go rah-rah team. If that turns into, he won't be mad if I don't show up. I don't think it will. I think they have great respect for this coaching staff and they'll show up. But this is really when you win games. You can talk about practice in the fall all you want. But this summer provides teams an opportunity to get bigger, stronger, faster in notable ways. And we'll see if Kansas State can do it.
From Cat in a Trap. Is that another new one?
Nah, he's been around.
Okay.
Well, just not a whole lot.
I like the name.
It's a good one.
It's a really
like
good
cat
one.
in a hat, Zach.
It's a
a play on words.
It's called a pun, actually.
Yes, that too.
Does the K-State fan base have unrealistic expectations for recruiting for the new football staff?
I don't hear anyone clamoring they want 5 stars and all 4 stars. I mean, I think they want it to be better.
And I think we all kept saying, for 3 years, we said, this K-State staff doesn't recruit. They don't recruit in season. They don't recruit a whole lot out of season when it was Bill Snyder and them. And so we kept saying, new staff comes in, they're going to recruit a lot more, and they're probably going to do a lot better. And we know kind of how the 2020 kids started off recently, and I think that sent people into panic a little bit. And now they're, quote-unquote, not meeting expectations, which I disagree with. I think they are. I think they're doing just fine right now. So I think everybody's just in this awkward in-between. What do we expect? Now we have coaches that are out here recruiting, so that should work. Well, no, it's not. It's not always going to bounce your way. You got to find the middle of all of that.
Well, it's intriguing to me. Coach Klieman mentioned this on Monday when we talked to him. He said we've got 10 guys on the road right now, and that's not something that has been done here at Kansas State. He didn't mean it as a shot, but it's factual. I mean, you can have 10 coaches out on the trail. One is generally the head coach, but that never happened. And they never put the 10th guy out there. They rarely had their full complement of 9 guys that they would put out at the same time. So they're working harder at it. They're a little bit more organized. They're more out there around the country in unique places, as Ryan Wallace chronicled with his heat map, which was incredible content. L.A., Chicago, just into some other areas that they really haven't been into, and we'll see if it pays off. They certainly are working the fields, looking for all the prospects out there.
From KSU Cat 80, if Bill Snyder gave advice to Coach Klieman, what advice would Coach Snyder give to you that you would want Coach Klieman to follow?
Don't retire. I don't know.
You're asking me to get inside of Bill Snyder's head.
Yeah, but that's the reason I don't think I can answer is I think all the things that Coach Snyder would tell him, he already does.
Yeah.
There's some real similarities with the effort to be consistent and how they do things and hold people accountable. Some of the things that Chris Klieman says really sound Bill Snyder-esque in a more contemporary setting. He kind of, it's like going about it differently, but the goals are the same. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he would. In fact, he mentions they don't really discuss things. So we'll see. I think Coach Snyder is being very hands-off right now.
His advice isn't going to be, hey, when you play Oklahoma, they do this, and be on the lookout for, it's not going to be a strategic advice that he would give him. He would give him, stay true to yourself, work hard, the basics, the cliches, maybe some extra pizzazz on top of those sentences. But They're going to be more big picture advice. And like Fitz said, he does it already. He's very hardworking. He knows how to get the job done, clearly. Staring at 90 rings in his office yesterday. That was a lot of display. He had one case of all the rings. And then another case of the 5-peat, and I'm just like, there are so many rings in here.
I know. It's impressive.
But, so
I
anyways.
stole them.
You stole them?
Yeah, I stole them.
I wanted to take the Wheaties box, but it was kind of on a top shelf, and I'm a little short.
Riley, get off the desk. Riley, get off the desk. I think if he gave him any advice, it would say, if you enjoy Taco Bell, don't mention it publicly.
They will look for you.
Yeah, they will. Everyone will talk about you loving Taco Bell.
From BK Big Fish 81, Coach Snyder has made some public speaking appearances, but has he taken questions or been asked about his retirement? Still no comment from him. Seems a little strange.
I gotta be honest, I didn't. I saw someone at KSDB or the Collegian or whatever. I saw they had him on. I don't know if they asked about it because I didn't listen to it. He hasn't been asked in a public setting where the comment has gotten out, and I have a feeling if he's said anything that gets to a point where it's big news, he says something that needs to be out there, we would have heard about it. It would have gotten out. So I don't think he said anything. It's been 5 months. Something.
We've been letting things settle a little bit, and we'll get back to him. We're not going to just ignore what's out there. We'll eventually ask to sit down and talk to him.
It wouldn't have made a lot of sense to push for it in February and March because a lot was going on with the current staff. Kind of knowing what we know about it, you probably wanted to, like Fitz said, let the dust settle. So yeah, give it a little bit of time, see what we can get. Who knows?
I'll ask him how he feels about Chris Klieman's plan to completely trash his uniforms and go with teal as an optional color.
Yes.
Just North Dakota State uniforms.
Yeah, he had a lot of luck with the green and gold, so he's
same font and everything.
Just replacing everything. It's going to be literally North Dakota State in Manhattan.
With a Missouri Valley patch, too.
Of course.
From Infected Testicle, did you think alternate uniforms are a good idea? What should they look like, if so?
Yeah, they're a good idea. A, they're fun, and B, they help. They don't help you on the field, they help you on the recruiting trail. But you don't got to be over the top about it. You just got to get something different out there. And it's clear that, that's what Chris Klieman said.
I don't want anything radical. I don't. I want a look. You stick with it, but maybe you have white pants. Maybe you have a white helmet. Maybe you have a purple helmet. I'm kind of mixed on the black helmet. I don't think I would do black with silver or white Powercat. I'd probably incorporate purple in there somehow. Maybe stroke it, put an outline in white around it so it'd pop off. But I don't know. I think it's a helmet change coming. I think they're going to have an alternate helmet or two because he mentioned the uniforms take a while to redo. They can't redo it instantly. I assume that means pants, although it would seem logical those would be easier to change. We want the exact same thing, just white instead of same piping, same Powercat, whatever you have on the pants, just make them white. But I suspect it'll be a helmet because the helmets come as blanks and then they put the stuff on them.
I have always been a advocate for the all-white uniform, a white helmet with purple Powercat, a white jersey with purple numbers, white pants, white shoes, white socks, everything. So I like the all-whites. I've seen the lavenders floating around in football form. Number one, if you're going to do the lavenders and you're going to try to make them like the basketball uniforms, it's hideous. Don't do it. It's not good at all. It's not. It doesn't look good in basketball, but it's about the tradition. Right. And there's no tradition with wearing lavenders in football. However, if you got a lavender jersey with the white pants, I think that's what someone made, and was it the white helmet or was it a purple helmet? I forget, but it didn't look half bad. I don't
think we'll see lavender. I think they'll stick to the core colors.
I like the current uniforms now, and until they actually release something, I don't really care about thinking about it. I'm sick of seeing Photoshop dreams of of what people want. Like, ooh, this would look cool. And I'm just like, no.
Also, the photo and credit to it's Mike Stanley. I'm looking at his Twitter page. He does all the editing and puts out the different jerseys. He's really good at it. And credit to him. And I don't want to take away from his ability. Everything he's doing it's not going to, even if they said, all right, we'll take this one from his Twitter and it's not going to look the same. It's going to be just a little bit different. You can't exactly replicate the exact same thing onto a real jersey. It doesn't work like that. But he has some good. There it is. Yeah, I knew I was going to find it eventually. It's the lavender jersey, dark purple numbers. There's a white helmet, a purple power cap.
I gotta admit, I like it.
That would be
does
fun.
Not look bad.
That would be fun.
It does not look bad.
It would look better with a purple lid instead of a white lid.
I really do not mind the uniforms. But I think Gene Taylor said Lavender will not visit the football team. That's a basketball thing. And you know what? Make it a thing. I don't care. My guess would be they'll wear a different helmet. They'll do something yet different again for Rally Day.
Do it better.
Yeah, just roll with it. I noticed on last year's helmet, the white camo helmets, that there's a big red one, tiny, where the face mask in the center.
The nameplate, yeah, the brand name.
Yeah, but it was tiny. You couldn't even. I never noticed it. It was so small. I could see them making that real big on the front of the helmet. That red and green, which doesn't match anything. But if you're going to do Fort Riley Day, do Fort Riley Day.
I want to see Nike come in and just give K-State just the Army treatment for a Fort Riley Day, like the Army Navy game.
Yeah. Oh, I love those uniforms they wear.
Oh. Like the ones for the helmets were different. Like,
I mean, they change it every year. Yeah, each one's different. Some of them are good. Some of them are.
I didn't know
maybe
they
not so good.
every year.
But yeah, every Army Navy game,
one
both
year,
teams.
Navy had different ships on their helmets.
Yeah, I
different
hated
position
that.
groups
That was
had different
stupid.
ships.
That was real stupid. How is that legal? They have different helmets.
I thought it was strange. I'm sure they get waivers. Well, I mean, who's going to tell Navy they can't do it? Let's just start shelling the
bomb the hell out of them.
Okay. Sheesh. Last question of the first half from ContraCat. Is the delay on naming a new men's basketball assistant actually hurting things? Can you expand on Bruce's coaching tree and why he's decided or why he is dedicated to that?
It's not hurting things anymore because I'm 99.9% certain the basketball coach is going to be Jermaine Henderson. They're just going to promote.
He's
been
functioning
recruiting.
as it.
Yeah. And so that's why it's not necessarily going to hurt him now is because he's out on the road, and it's Coach Henderson and everything. People see him as the K-State coach. So recruits know what they're going to get. But when we made a big deal about it hurting the program a few weeks back, that was when we were very unsure, And you don't want to go send a guy out on the road and recruit and you don't know that he's going to be the coach. So anymore, it might not be hurting, but just promote the damn guy.
Just announce it. It's a little bit weird at this point. Why haven't they announced it? Does he have someone else that's not free till, June 1st or something? I'm not sure. But it seems logical it'll be him.
I mean, yeah, you're not going to get anybody different at this point. I'd be shocked.
I'm not crazy about it. His loyalty is remarkable. I mean, he likes to stick within his group of known entities, whether players or coaches that work for him, but I just think he needs something a little more oomph on the recruiting trail. I'm sure he feels very comfortable with this hire, though.
That's a good way to say it.
Well, that's it for the first half of this week's Powercat Podcast, sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor. Like I mentioned on the other side of this break, we're going to have a little something different. I'm going to talk to Chris Klieman about football recruiting at Kansas State. And all of us got to speak with him. So right after this break, gets Chris Klieman on the Powercat Podcast.
The Powercat Podcast continues shortly.
I'm trying to get a group text in on what everybody wants on the liquor store run, but my phone keeps autocorrecting liquor store to the fridge.
A fridge or the fridge?
The fridge. It just did it again.
Well, the Fridge is more than just a liquor store. The Fridge has over 3,000 wines in stock, the area's largest selection of spirits and craft beers. Plus, they're back-to-back winners of Beverage Dynamics Retailer of the Year.
Oh, I get it. Wow. Smartphone.
Autocorrect your next liquor store visit to the Fridge Wholesale Liquor, 1150 Westport in Manhattan. Online at fridgeliquor.com.
For more than 20 years, there's only been one reliable source for exclusive and unmatched premium K-State sports news content. It's GoPowercat.com. The tradition continues as Tim Fitzgerald, D. Scott Fritchen, and the other Go PowerCat sports experts continue their relentless coverage of K-State sports. So make sure you're subscribing to the one and only Go PowerCat. Hey, K-State fans, it's time to come home to GoPowerCat.com. We now return to the Powercat Podcast.
Welcome back to the Powercat Podcast, sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor. And this week was very interesting for the GPC staff. On Monday, the four of us here at the World Headquarters got to visit with Chris Klieman in his office at the Veneer Family Football Complex. Kansas State's new football coach fielded questions from D. Scott Fritchen first for some stories and videos going up on the site. And then I sat down with him and talked recruiting, and then Riley Gates closed out the trifecta with some other interesting topics. Here is my discussion with Chris Klieman about Kansas State football recruiting. And, of course, due to NCAA rules, we can't get into specific players that are unsigned. Ryan Wallace, our recruiting analyst and editor, helped me craft these questions, and some of his answers were very interesting. Here we go on the Powercat Podcast, sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor. Coach Chris Klieman. As we sit here in the middle of May, with you and your staff having been in Manhattan for roughly 4 or 5 months, are you pleased with the current state of this first recruiting class, and right about where you hoped it would be, or slightly off the pace one way or another?
Well, when you say the
upcoming.
Because really in 2019 we were scrambling in behind the 8 ball a little bit, and obviously we're trying to get ahead in the 2020. We're still probably a little bit behind, in all honesty, in just how the process goes, because we've been visiting or in communication with a lot of these 2020 kids, whether it's been since January or since last week, where some people probably have been talking to these kids for a year or two, because there's people in the 2021 and 2022 class are even starting to get mentioned and stuff now. So I feel good in the fact that we've got 10 guys out on the road, busting their tail, evaluating guys, and we're coming up with a really good plan as far as by position, what we're looking for, how many we have to get at each position. And so, we'll all reconvene here at the end of May and look at our boards and see where we're at. But, obviously you always wish you're further along. That's just the nature of recruiting. And we could be talking in November or early December, and I'd be saying the same thing. It's just, it's so fluid. Recruiting is so fluid, and it changes on a daily basis. But I know this. We have a staff out there that's really doing a great job of evaluating guys and building our boards.
You mentioned the 10 guys out recruiting, and naturally that's the limit you can have out recruiting. But one of the things that probably needed some change when you came in was beefing up that recruiting staff, the support staff. How have you moved on that so far?
Well, for starters, just getting 10 guys out is I think, something a little bit new here.
Yep.
Getting everybody out, and we're still a work in progress as far as beefing up that recruiting staff. We've got some GAs doing some multitasking right now, and some quality control guys doing multitasking. And I think we're going to learn. And I know it's going to be one full year of a cycle for us to learn where else we need some more help at. Obviously, we need to get some more help for Taylor Bratt, and I think that's coming down in the near future here. But our coaches have to do a great job of building these great relationships with these student athletes, and then staying on top of them, as well as myself and everybody else that's involved.
At this point, you and your staff have been in touch with a large number of prospects and their parents and their coaches. What have you found to be the universal strong suit of pitching K-State and K-State football?
Discipline, toughness, character, integrity. I mean, those are the things that are non-negotiable. Those are the things that I think have built Kansas State in Bill's time here for sure, and have also where I've had really good success at North Dakota State is, you can win with kids that have great character and great integrity, that are really good football players, sometimes better than you can a 5-star that maybe is more about himself. And the fact that for us to identify those guys is probably the most important part. And then as well as, our ability to make sure that we have the chance to get kids that really want to be at Kansas State. And that's something that's really important to me is finding those guys that you don't have to beg to come here, that want to come here and want to be a part of something special.
Is there a recruitment in particular that you're kind of proud of? I mean, where you and your staff did a good job, maybe from the 2019 class that you came in and got it done.
Yeah, I don't want to just mention one. I think there's a bunch of them. The one thing I'm a big believer in is not this guy signs 4, this guy signs 3, this guy signs 3. Once they come on campus, we're all involved. And I think that's really important that a running back gets around Van Malone as the defensive back coach. An offensive lineman gets around Tui and Buddy as a defensive lineman, as defensive line coach, just because I don't want them to just have one relationship with somebody. That sometimes gets you hurt a little bit too when somebody leaves. I want guys to have great relationships with all of our coaches here. And so that's the thing I probably am most pleased with of the 19 classes. The amount of guys we brought in just those last 2 weekends, how many great relationships were built, and you weren't even talking about the same position or the same area of recruiting.
It's probably unreasonable to even talk about the kind of success you had at North Dakota State translating to Kansas State, but to get closer to that, kind of get back into the national title picture, which Kansas State's been in the past. What positions do you see the most need for immediate recruiting help?
Well, I don't know if you'd say position as much as we would say long athletic bodies that can run. And, whether it's a 6'4", 225-pound body that might be 285 in 2 years, or a 6'6", 210-pound body that might be 255 in the next couple of years, of just some longer athletic bodies that you don't know. They might be a defensive end, they might be a defensive tackle, they may be a tight end, which will be a big focal point of our offense, or it could be an offensive lineman at that, of just finding those longer, big bodies that have great potential to grow.
That's interesting you bring that up, because it's probably a real similarity with what Bill Snyder attempted to do at Kansas State. And that was, at North Dakota State, you probably had to evaluate not for what they are necessarily, but for what they will be. You're not going to go get the 6'4", 285-pound defensive tackle that can run a 4.5. Alabama gets those guys.
Yep.
So is projecting, seeing a kid for what they can be, the most important?
You bet. Development. It's seeing that young man and saying, okay, what will he be in 2 years? That's why it's so hard to evaluate a class in that first year, because although a lot of younger players are playing more and more, the bodies that we're talking about usually does take a year or two. If you get a defensive back, a wide receiver that, is 6 foot, 190-pound kid that, okay, you don't need to be 210 to play that position. But when you're a long, lean athlete, you need to put on some weight. And so developmental guys are really important. I think they're the lifeblood of a lot of programs across the landscape, is because a lot of those kids aren't the 5-star guys. They're the walk-on kids or the 3-star guys. And we're going to recruit an awful lot of those type of guys that we believe would fit a culture and fit our system. And that's something we're excited about doing.
5-star kids, I mean, obviously they're real gifted. There's a reason why they're 5 stars. Is that something where you kind of pick your battles? You just don't jump into every battle?
Yeah, and I don't get caught up into a lot of rankings, probably like I should, because you're just so narrow-minded of just, I'm looking at these guys, and do they fit what we're looking for at this position? Do they fit what we're looking for at this position? And you guys know it. You've probably missed on some guys that you would have said, boy, this guy's a 5-star guy and he never plays. Well, that number 11 that's up there on that wall wasn't any kind of a star in Carson Wentz, but he had competitive fire unlike anybody I've ever seen that would blow a 5-star away from that respect. Now, he was a 6'6", 190-pound skinny kid that had a rocket for an arm, but nobody knew much about him. But when you watch that young man compete, you're like, this kid's the best player in college football, and I thought he was that year. And I can pick second in the draft. He's pretty close to being the best player in college football. You're just looking for those guys that can develop, and you're always looking for those guys that love to compete.
How's recruiting changed for you now that you're at Kansas State instead of North Dakota State, where you're the big dogs in that environment, and going out and selling the Powercat?
Yeah. It has not changed as far as the volume of guys. It really hasn't. It hasn't. People thought, boy, it's going to be a way different way of recruiting. People are wrong if they think that the schools in FCS don't recruit year-round, or that they just wait for everybody else to get taken up and then they end up taking a guy. That's furthest thing from the truth. You start recruiting year-round just like they do at the Power 5, just like they do Group of 5 or anything. You're just probably dealing with just more athletes in a wider base. We're throwing a net out. Obviously, Kansas and Missouri are really important to us. We're throwing a net out in Texas. We're throwing a net out now on the West Coast with two East ties in Arizona and California, and we're throwing a net out in Florida where we've had some really good success. Whereas at North Dakota State, we were just probably really more regional. And then we would look at the state of Florida. So the volume of guys probably very similar. It's just, and I think I've noticed this over the last 5 years. I don't care where you're at. We've evaluated guys 3 years ago at North Dakota State saying, boy, we have a chance at him. I can't believe he has those offers. And we have a chance at this. I can't believe that kid doesn't have any offers. Right. So I don't think there's an exact science to it at all.
Now, you mentioned some of those new areas you've gone into: Los Angeles, Chicago, a little bit St. Louis, Utah, Arizona. Those aren't places K-State has spent a lot of time in. How has the message of Kansas State football been received in those areas?
Really well. And you guys know this better than I do. But the West Coast at one time was pretty doggone good to Kansas State. Florida's probably pretty new to Kansas State, but I still think they're looking and listening for the brand of football. And if it's a tight end, you can sell that to anybody across the land when you just flip a film on and say, okay, where are you going to utilize tight ends and stuff? And then defensively, I really like the things that Coach Hayes is doing, and Coach Hazelton and I were with each other at North Dakota State. That's just kind of a different type of athlete we're looking for at certain spots. It's been great to be able to just get out there and kind of show our brand and show what we're trying to do, both sides of the ball, to see if we can get guys to come visit here. That's the one thing that I would say Manhattan is pretty similar to Fargo, is if you get them here, you have an opportunity. It's still that challenge of, come on over, check us out here in Manhattan. We have the same issues in Fargo. Minneapolis was the closest area. Kansas City is the closest area, too, as far as flying into something that you would say be a metropolitan area and then driving over. And we're going to continue to pound that pavement and just keep trying to sell our brand so we can get more kids to visit.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.
Well, that will do it for the second segment of this week's Powercat Podcast, sponsored by The Fridge. We will be right back on the other side of this brief break with more of the podcast. It's The Overtime from the WTC Gig-Powered Studios.
The gang will return with more of the Powercat Podcast.
I'm trying to get a group text in on what everybody wants on the liquor store run, but my phone keeps autocorrecting liquor store to the fridge.
A fridge or the fridge?
The fridge. It just did it again.
Well, the Fridge is more than just a liquor store. The Fridge has over 3,000 wines in stock, the area's largest selection of spirits and craft beers. Plus, they're back-to-back winners of Beverage Dynamics Retailer of the Year.
Oh, I get it. Wow. Smartphone.
Autocorrect your next liquor store visit to the Fridge Wholesale Liquor, 1150 Westport in Manhattan. Online at fridgeliquor.com.
For more than 20 years, there's only been one reliable source for exclusive and unmatched premium K-State sports news content. It's GoPowercat.com. The tradition continues as Tim Fitzgerald, D. Scott Fritchen, and the other Go Powercat sports experts continue their relentless coverage of K-State sports. So make sure you're subscribing to the one and only Go Powercat. Hey, K-State fans, it's time to come home to GoPowercat.com. Back to Fitz on the Powercat Podcast, sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor.
Welcome back to the Powercat Podcast. I hope you enjoyed our discussion about Kansas State football recruiting with head coach Chris Klieman. And thanks once again to Ryan Wallace, who provided much of the information and questions. We plan on having Chris Klieman on a Power Chat if we ever get it going. Now I'm going on vacation. I'll do a Power Chat like with a palm tree in Hawaii, and I'll film it.
You can bring him back to the studio?
Yeah, that's not going to work. It's not going to work. But we'll have something cooking here pretty soon as we work through some of the final production details. By the way, did the equipment show up yesterday?
No.
Ooh, better track that stuff.
Can't really do a Power Chat without our equipment, can we?
We'll get it done. I'll be back in a couple weeks. Then we'll pick it up. I don't know. I hope this is good overtime.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, we're sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor. They're pretty good. Our segment sponsors, which we've failed to mention, are Tanner's and the High-Low. Make sure you get into those two places whenever you're in Aggieville. It's about summer when Aggieville seems to get slower, but it doesn't really that much. It does, but now all the townies come to Aggieville like, oh, it's safe. It's safe. We can go down there. We don't have students everywhere.
They don't bite.
Sometimes.
They probably have bit before.
Yeah, sometimes. So, but now is a good time to get down there if you want to watch a little golf, a little Royals baseball, if you're into that kind of thing. Whatever, get to Tanner's and go down to the High-Low and have a slice. A massive slice of pizza. Oh, it's so good.
Since you guys are both going to be gone, I might just go eat at all of our sponsors and watch golf this week.
Nice. Just do a tour de sponsor.
Yeah.
You know where I'm going to watch golf this week?
At the tournament?
Yeah.
You brag on that like I'm not going to go to the next one.
These boys are heading out to see some golf live.
You betcha.
Man.
Go follow Tiger around since he's playing in the morning.
You should follow John Daly and
he's gonna
try to
be in
keep
his
up
cart.
with the cart.
Yeah. I'll make sure I take a picture of the cart.
Tiger was just asked about that, by the way, and he said, well, I walked on a broken leg.
I think Zach should dress as a Denny's hostess. Tiger!
He'd probably laugh because he laughed at the dude with the DUI mugshot that he had
on the shirt. Yep.
He looked at it, he just started smiling.
Well, it's the overtime. You ask anything, we answer, probably, on the Powercat Podcast from the WTC Gig Powered Studios. Here we go, Zach.
From Cornelio. I was listening to sports radio out of Oklahoma City last week, and they were discussing the best and worst Big 12 stadiums. They had ours as 8th out of 10, just in front of Memorial Stadium in Lawrence and West Virginia Stadium. What say you three?
I don't. How did West Virginia's get put below Iowa State's?
They should be together. And
they're the same stadium.
Yeah, they really are the same stadium.
Although Iowa State's done some renovations lately.
But they haven't renovated their press box.
No, their press box sucks. And
I hate to sound like a media diva, but
there's no suites there either.
We cannot work in there, functionally work in that place.
It's horrible.
And then they kick us out. You have 1 hour after the game ends to be out of the press box, or they lock you out. Hey, my laptop's in there.
It's crazy. It's a weird place. It's easy to say Oklahoma and Texas and
TCU.
I gotta be honest with you. Until Oklahoma, Oklahoma's is fine. It's not that nice.
Oklahoma State's okay.
I like T-Boone.
I put K-State at 7.
Yeah,
above KU,
Iowa State, West Virginia.
Yeah.
TCU has a really nice, well-designed, small stadium. It's really well put together.
I would put Texas Tech and K-State tied. Maybe K-State slightly above.
I don't have any problem with that.
But that's about the line where it gets drawn for me.
Folks, K-State Stadium is kind of piecemealed together because it was nothing, and then they added a piece here and a piece there. For me, it really will struggle until they kind of finish off that east side better.
Yeah.
Make it more presentable, match the other side.
That's where people come in.
Pull it all together. Maybe put the deck over on, a giant party deck over by Bramlage, which has been talked about for a long, long time. And maybe try to hide Bramlage a little bit and bring out, the Legends Room from Bramlage and incorporate that. I don't know where they are with that. They got a lot of things they're working on, including new practice field and indoor practice facility. We'll see what happens there. But I don't totally disagree with it, but I do like K-State Stadium. It's the magic of K-State Stadium isn't when you walk by it or enter it when it's empty. It's on game day and the crowd's so loud, and I think that's kind of adds to the magic, the intimidation factors, because if you do your walkthrough, you're like, this place isn't that great, and then on game day you're like, holy crap, the students are really loud and they're right behind the bench.
From ContraCat, talk a bit about the influence of Pat Bosco and any memories you have. What academic programs are expanding on campus? I think that was a second question.
Oh, two-part question.
Yeah, two-part question. Little run on there.
I mean, I didn't honestly. I don't mean to act like he wasn't He wasn't around that much for me.
He's really good with student recruitment. If kids are coming in and they're actively looking at a number of campuses, what they do with student recruitment and sometimes assisting with students who are having problems has been remarkable. He set a tone for the university. As much as Bill Snyder, he's kind of been the campus version of family. And it's amazing that he came here as a student in 1863.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that confirmed?
I'm pretty sure I confirmed it myself.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And then just, stayed on. He never left. He's an amazing man. He got a plaza named after him. Not a building where people are like, oh, I got to go to Bosco Hall and take a test. He got a plaza.
Can we talk about, though, how K-State kind of did him wrong? How long has it been Bosco Plaza? I don't even know. I mean, as long as I can remember.
As long as I can remember, too.
So whenever they did that, and just last week they put up a sign. There was no sign. We just all knew it was Bosco Plaza. No identification whatsoever. Come on now.
But they named it, and he was around for so long after they named it that you think it's just a coincidence that it's named.
Did they think he was going to retire? I
just want to know the thinking there. Were they like, oh, we can Bill Snyder this? Yeah,
Bill Snyder this. He's good.
I never really dealt with him when I was a student because honestly I wasn't on campus. I never went to class. I went to the Collegian and went for tests. I mailed it in.
I mean, I did that my last semester, but
he's a great man. He's an awesome guy, and I'm glad he finally decided to retire.
From Powercat Ryan, what is your top K-State game experience as a fan and not a media member?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I think I got it. The first really the one that I guess I'm always gonna be remembering is KU basketball in 2008, because I mean obviously everything that happened, but it's that was the good court storming. K-State hasn't had a good court storming like that in a while. I mean, it's all the same.
I would argue the second KU game was just as good.
They filled the floor so fast, and then you couldn't move. Also, I was with my dad, so that was kind of cool. But and we're in one of those sections where it has the V, and so there's not the steps down the middle
on the corner.
And we did not know that, so they had to go up, around, and then down an entire flight to get to the floor. So it took a while to get down to the floor, but that would probably be it. Texas football in 2006 was a lot of fun, obviously. And yeah, I've had fun experiences, don't get me wrong, but none that stand out like that.
Well, I got to go way back. I mean, I was in student media too, so I really haven't had many fan experiences. However, I did go to Hearn Fieldhouse in my junior year of high school. I'd have to look up the year, to be honest. But K-State and Missouri, I think, were 1 and 2 in the country and played. And painted my face, sat with my sister and her friends, and had a great time. And it was so loud in there. It's just, it was painful. It was so loud. You couldn't shout in the person's ear next to you and have them hear it. That's how loud it was. So that was fun. And then probably the 82 football season, just watching them earn that first bowl bid and beat Colorado and get it done. I didn't go to the Independence Bowl, which turned out to be a great move because it was cold and raining. And I did go to, as a fan, to the 88. I was working in St. Joe, Missouri, and one of my bosses said, "Hey, I'm going to cover the desk for you Saturday. You need to go to Pontiac." So I did show up to watch KU beat K-State in the Elite Eight. That was not one of my better experiences, but it was a fun. I was on the front row. I got hooked up with front row tickets, and it was fun because in my life, I haven't had many opportunities to be the fan. I got to do that at Royals games, World Series games, but you kind of cash it in as a sports journalist.
But I thought you went as a media member. You didn't?
No, that
you
was
a fan?
What?
That was the Final Four he went to as the media member.
Oh, okay.
The timeout.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That was 80.
I'm not good with years. Don't ask me.
86?
Yeah, I don't know.
Beats me. I don't know. But anyways, those would be. You didn't answer.
I didn't. No, the two KU games I could say, yeah, but I would probably go back to 2002 USC. That's probably one of my earliest good memories of a K-State game, especially football. I remember a little bit from the 01 season, but really, as far as going to games, I don't remember going. In the real heyday of Snyder 1.0, but that was probably the best game memory that I have, probably, of a K-State football game. That or the Missouri K-State game in 03, where they put Tostitos under everybody's seat.
Yeah, I don't think I was there. I don't remember, but I don't think I got to be there, so I'm sad.
Well,
very sad.
They were good chips.
Sad.
Oh, I did have some though, because they have them at the Big 12 title in 03.
I didn't go to that game.
Okay, because I'm fairly certain they did. I remember my grandparents bringing back it was like a little yellow bag of Tostitos chips, and I think they got them at the Big 12 title game.
Yeah, but OU was going to go to the Sugar Bowl.
Well, somebody ran to Hy-Vee real quick and picked up a lot of chips.
Went to Price Chopper.
Price Chopper!
From Powercat Ryan again. If you could reverse the outcome of one of these games, which would you choose? 98 Big 12 championship game, 2003 Marshall game, where L. Roberson doesn't get injured and remains healthy, or 2012 Baylor?
I knew Fitz was going to answer right away.
98. That was the best team in the country, man. That was the best. They were going to win a national championship.
They would have won the national championship in 12. They would have played Notre Dame. They wouldn't have played Alabama. They would have played Notre Dame, and that Notre Dame team was hot garbage.
Yeah, but
their best player was a linebacker.
With an invisible girlfriend. Hey, look, that 12 team was really good, but that 98 team was a beast.
Yeah, you don't say Marshall because that, what do you do instead of
you go and lose 2 more games after that? You're on a 3-game losing streak and one of the best seasons of K-State.
And you can argue that the injury kind of downward spirals that, but I don't think that team goes undefeated. And if they go undefeated, Oklahoma doesn't overlook them in the Big 12 title game.
That would have been the greatest.
Holy crap!
Title game
Can you
of
imagine?
All time.
If that K-State team was undefeated, playing the greatest football team of all time.
Did K-State play 13 games that year, regular season?
I was 7. I forget.
I think they did. I think they played 2 1AA teams, and then they played the Eddie Robinson Classic or whatever when they played.
I think that was 11-game schedules back then, so they would have played 12.
Because I thought it was the first time a team could go 15-0. Riley's looking it up.
Yeah, I'm typing.
Wikipedia page. Who?
Shut up. Who? I want to know who does
There's
goes
probably
through...
some dude It's probably like one dude for all of sports that has everything like formatted properly and everything.
Yeah, you're right. There's 15. They played 15 that year.
Played McNeese, UMass, Cal?
Troy State and Cal.
Oh, okay.
Now Troy.
Yes.
Wait, so I was right on the other two?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Man, they didn't leave. They didn't go outside of the state. Well, they went to Kansas City, Missouri. They did not go on a true road game, though, until October 4th. Holy crap.
See, that's not that bad, but you have to consider that they played, 6 games before that?
5.
5.
And they got beat by Texas.
Yeah.
It'd have to be 98. That has to be the answer. Although 12 would have been fun because
I'll say
I'm older.
I'll say 2012 just for the sake of recency.
Yeah, I mean
that's the most recent.
I would have been able
closest K-State's gotten to anything
in 20 years. I would have been
Why 98
able,
significant? If they win a national title, what's that do to the program?
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Did
you ever watch the YouTube conspiracy video where like an EMP or whatever was used against Michael Bishop and another player that led to 2 fumbles? The government interfered with with this championship game. I don't know if it's still on YouTube, but it was the greatest, stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life.
As a guy who thinks Elvis didn't die in a bathroom and that JFK was shot by the mafia and that UFOs are real, that's stupid.
Fitz is the worst conspiracy theorist.
If anybody
out there.
listening can post on Wabash or tweet us with the link to that video if you find it, please do, and I will spread it.
This is gonna take off. Like ask the Fridge if they have Die Hard on VHS.
They do now know the joke. When we went in to get the beer and the wine for the open house, one of the managers said, "What is this Die Hard on VHS thing?" You were a Blockbuster. And he goes, "Oh crap!" He goes, "I've been looking for a beer that has VHS in it." The young lady at the counter asked me the same thing, and she goes, "Oh, yeah, we were a Blockbuster before the Fridge." But I'm thinking, how old were you when Blockbusters went under? Yeah.
I remember that was a Blockbuster. Anybody should be.
I had a card to that Blockbuster. I was 16. Oof. From Canelio, before every game kicks off inside Bill Snyder Family Stadium, I have to purchase a hot dog for good luck. Didn't do squat for us last season. Gotta go with something new this season.
Brat.
What do I purchase now?
Brat.
Oh no, there's one.
Yeah.
There's one
No,
answer.
I'm not gonna call you an idiot. Okay, I think if you have your superstition and if it's helped in the past, I encourage you to keep doing your superstition. However.
They serve
Guys,
Chick-fil-A chicken
Chick-fil-A.
sandwiches now.
Come on, what are you doing? Go get Chick-fil-A. Make that your pregame tradition or whatever. It's gonna work. It's God's food.
God's chicken.
They're closed on Sundays. They clearly have a relationship with the big man. It's gonna help. Go buy you some Chick-fil-A. Eat it. I would tell you to buy beer, but K-State is too stubborn. You can go out to a little landing thing or whatever.
You can go to your car at halftime and load up.
So, yeah, Chick-fil-A, no doubt. If you're not doing Chick-fil-A, I guess...
Do they still serve turkey legs? Can you get a big old turkey leg?
Those are overrated, but I don't know.
I've never had
I don't
one.
know if they sell.
I just know that they sold them, and I was like, one day I might do that.
Most underrated thing out there that I don't feel like has ever gotten enough appreciation, excuse me, at Kansas State, the purple kettle corn.
Oh.
That was delicious.
No.
Oh, we'd eat a whole
Awful.
bag of that every game.
Awful. We'd get a bag too, but it was
good.
so bad.
So good.
The purple dye was disgusting.
It had like a taste in there. It was like a salty, but there was like, I can't describe what the taste was, but it was
Food
good.
coloring.
It was delicious.
Dyes. That's what it was.
I
Brat.
guarantee you people will fight you on this.
Go brat, mustard only. Eat it. So you close your tradition, but you've changed it.
A different tubed meat is what your vote is.
Yes, or really, or if they have bison burgers somewhere in the stadium, eat that.
They're going to have bison everything next year.
They should.
I really hope.
They have a bison burger.
I hope that K-State makes some sort of hat, like the little bison hats that North Dakota State fans wore. I hope they make some sort of hat revolving a wildcat of some sort. Please.
With the big pointy ears.
Someone in
Willy
marketing,
ears.
someone in marketing or whatever, fan experience, make this happen, please.
I don't have anything more to say. Last question of the podcast from Infected Testicle. My job takes me to Amarillo a couple times a week, which gives me regular access to Whataburger. I agree. For fast food, it's good. I almost never go there because there's better non-fast food burgers in Amarillo. What is it you order when you go there? I'm hoping you give me a good reason to eat more Whataburger.
Everything.
I'm a triple with triple cheese kind of guy, and I don't even want the fries. Fries get in my way. But their patty melt is unbelievable.
Let's get the triple and the patty. Make that your side.
We've done it. I don't want to talk about it again.
Yeah, okay. Well, did some things I wasn't too proud of.
Yeah, and it swore me off Whataburger for a long time.
It hurt.
Try, if you haven't had the patty melt, get it. I really like their patty melt.
The patty melt's, I think that's like the top. That's got to be the number one, like the pride and joy.
Yeah.
But
I recognize what he's saying. That it's a fast food joint. I mean, you can't compare it to other non-fast food joints, but it's a place you go in and order and get your food in a couple minutes and feel ashamed of what you just did to your body, and then you drive home.
If you like spicy stuff, you can get the Monterey Melt. I'm not a big spicy guy, so I didn't care for it, but I knew it would be good. And the honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich is surprisingly amazing.
That's what I suggest to anybody if you're not going to get a Whataburger, which I'll do half the time. But those four main favorites, which I need to look up: patty melt, honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich, and then
bacon. The bacon. What is it called? A1 bacon burger, or something like that. And then the fourth one is is it a chicken sandwich?
No, it's all burgers.
I'm blanking. If you're there in the morning, though.
Well, this here says Monterey Melt.
Okay, yeah.
So maybe it's Monterey Melt. There's the sweet and spicy bacon burger. There's listing 6 of them here. Then the patty melt. They've got a Chop House cheddar burger, which I don't think is one of the main 4. Then the green chili double, which isn't one of the
Sounds like
either,
something you get in like San Antonio Whataburgers.
Yeah.
So my answer is patty melt. If you want to go for breakfast, go get you a honey butter chicken biscuit. Actually, get you 2 of them. They're good.
17 of them.
Doesn't seem.
I actually did not enjoy that. The honey butter bacon chicken.
You didn't like it?
Buster.
I think I've only had one and was underwhelmed.
Yeah.
Also, if you can order breakfast at Whataburger, that means you can also order the entire menu.
You can?
Yeah.
I'm confused.
They serve breakfast from 11 to 11.
Why can't fast food places all get on the same page? We're either going to serve the breakfast all day or we're going to serve it from, certain time to certain time. And we're going to make those times the same. Sonic's out here letting me get a breakfast burrito at 4 p.m. if I want it. But McDonald's, I can't get donut sticks at 8 p.m. And it's a delicious snack. So,
but you can get a McGriddle now.
Get on the same page. And if I can get a McGriddle all day, why can't I get a cheeseburger for breakfast?
This is one
They're
of the
going to
most
actually
important
change that, I
rants
think.
in
Do it.
podcast history.
I'm still mad about it to this day.
I think that McDonald's recently said, yeah, we're going to start doing some burgers.
Important
breakfast.
stuff.
That'll put them at the top of the list.
Important stuff right there. That was good. That was a good rant.
Yeah. Had to get a rant in somewhere.
It seems like we only did 2 segments because we were snuck that interview in the second segment.
See, technically, Zach and I only did do 2 segments because we didn't talk in that second segment.
Yeah, that's true. You were outstanding. You made no mistakes in that segment.
I am perfect.
That's it for the Powercat Podcast this week. Zach is off to see golf. Riley is off to see himself in the mirror because he is perfect. And I am off to Hawaii. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate the Fridge Wholesale Liquor, Tanner's, and the High-Low. And, of course, we'll be back, probably not next week, but here in the near future from the WTC Gig-Powered Studios in downtown Manhattan.
Powercat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street Publishing.